Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to tag trading setups in sierrachart and how you can filter out by individual trading setups in the trade activity log in sierrachart. So this is a very important thing for day traders because when you have different trading setups, it's very important to be tracking the data points that are associated with those trade setups and basically which ones are profitable, which ones are not, and all the different things associated with your trading setups. So there's various other software that exists out there for trade journaling, and sierrachart has often gotten questions like this in the past, like will they ever support journaling? And well, this video is going to show you how you can do this in sierrachart because it's already possible. It just requires a little bit of work and understanding of how to do it. So that's what this video is going to show you. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first thing is in the trade activity log, you can see here that for every trade, there's this column here called note, the note column. So I'm in the trade activity log that I've opened in my instance of sierrachart, and I have selected trade activity at the top, and then I have it filtering by order fills. So it's only showing individual order fills. Anytime an order has filled, it'll populate them here. Now it's important that you use this menu because we're going to use this exact same menu to actually go in and edit the trade activity entries later when it comes to tagging them by hand. In most cases, for tagging historical trades that you haven't tagged, you're going to have to go in and tag them one by hand, and that's going to take a bit of time, but it'll be worth it in the long run. So at the top right of the trade activity log, you can see there's this field here where you can select notes, right? So the default is all notes. And so what you can do is you can filter out by a specific note here. Sometimes you're going to see these notes that are associated with random order IDs from your historical trade statistics, but those should just be overlooked. You only want to be looking for the notes that are associated with your actual trading setups, the ones that you've set up. So what you do is essentially once you have your tags set in and your trades are all tagged accordingly, you can go in and filter out and select one of these notes, and then you apply that and it will filter it out by that particular note. In this case, this was a brand new note we created, so there's no trades that actually have this tag yet for this symbol. So we'll go ahead for now and just get rid of that. So the trade activity log itself has a lot of advanced functionality to it and can show you some important data points regarding your trading setups. For example, I noticed with one of my trading setups that it was underperforming at a very specific time of the day on a very specific symbol, on the same symbol. And I found that out by using the period stats tab and filtering out by a particular note. This is very useful for finding those types of anomalies in your trade statistics so that you can, benefit from them in the future and improve your trading. So we'll start off by showing how to pre-tag trades. So to preset the note field for any brand new orders that you submit, and you'll be able to switch between your trading setups on a control bar like this. So you can see if you look at the top of my control bar, there's a few different buttons here, and what they do is they switch between trade window configurations. And for each one of those trade window configurations, the note field is set specifically so that it is going to be pre-tagging the trades for brand new trades that I take. So I'm going to start off by opening the trade window for our chart. So this can be done by going to trade and then open trade window for chart. And in some cases, you'll also have it on the control bar, TW as the shortcut. And you want to go to the set tab right here and now find text tag. So most of the time by default, this might be checked, which is use config name as text tag. At the end of each of your text tags, you're going to have this suffix, which is .twconfig. Personally, I don't really like seeing that for every single trade setup, so I choose to uncheck that box and I choose to type in the text tag as a string in this box right here. So whatever you want your trade to be tagged as a text string, you type it in here. Now, I don't think there's a limit to what text you can type in here. You can type in as many characters as you want, I'm pretty sure. Once you've set that, you have to save the trade window configuration with this setting in there. So assuming you've typed in the name of your trading setup in this case, and you're going to have to do this each time for as many trading tags as you have, as many setups as you have. There's different ways that traders tag their trades, but let's say, in my case, you can see there's 4 of them at the top. So I have 4 different tags in this case. So to save this, you go to main, then choose the M for the menu of the trade window, and then you select save configuration. And you just want to save it as whatever it's called. It doesn't really matter what you call it. You can save it as anything. In this case, I've saved it as vtrend.twconfig. It's always going to be a twconfig because this is a trade window configuration file. So now what we've done is we've saved a text tag directly into a trade window configuration, so that when we use this trade window configuration to place new orders, the text tag will be set to whatever it is set here in this trade window configuration, because that is the one that was used when those orders were submitted. The next thing when it comes to pre-tagging your trades is you want to be able to switch between your different pre-tagged trade window configurations. There is a video that you can watch called Advanced Bracket Orders that we showed the advantages of using a custom study to set your trade window configuration. So in that particular video example, we showed that if I switched the trade quantity to 2, then I could have 2 separate targets and 2 separate stops. And then if I switched it to a trade quantity of 3, then it would be 3 separate targets and 3 separate stops. Now, again, this is very good for trade management because sometimes traders, they want to get into their trade all at once, but then they want to have 3 individual targets that they can move around. And of course, for protection of your trading account, you want to make sure that those orders are one cancels another, meaning that if one of the targets fills, the stop is filled as well. But again, you don't have to do that. You can just set your trade window configuration here. Okay, so the next step is going to be configuring your control bar with those trade window configurations. So what I'll do is I'll right click on the control bar here, and then I'll go to customize control bar 4. In this case, that's the control bar I'm using. And here you can see in our control bar button commands, we've added in trade window configurations 1 through 4. And I'm going to show you how to add that in now. So you have to go on the left side here where you have your available control bar button commands. And you're going to find trade window configurations. And then just find any which one. It doesn't matter which ones they are because you're going to be able to set them to specific trade window configurations you have. So once you select it, you add it in and then it'll appear here. So in this case, I'll select trade window configuration 1. In order to choose the trade window configuration that this is affecting, you first need to click on it and highlight it and then go to customize. And this is where you actually choose the trade window configuration that you want it to be affecting. And here it's going to show all of your saved twconfig files, basically. So in this case, I'll select vtrend and then apply it and OK. Now when I enable that control bar button, it's going to set my trade window configuration to the one I've set it to turn on. All right. And you can't turn it off. You can simply turn it on because you're selecting trade window configurations one at a time. Then the next thing would be configuring the look of each of these buttons, which is pretty simple. You select the control bar command button, then you go to properties, and then I use the short captions. So see here in the actual control bar customization, I have the short captions enabled. So that's going to enable these captions right here on the left side. So I typed in v.trend, and that's the text that is going to be displayed on the button itself. And then I have changed the point size, which is the size of the text and the size of the button. I'm using a size of 8 in this case. And I also changed the color to be this color right here. So once you're happy with that, you simply OK it and exit. So now I'll just demonstrate by opening the trade window for the chart. If you take a look at the trade window configuration here, you can see it's currently set to vtrend. If I switch to a different control bar button, you can see that it switches the trade window configuration to a different trading tag in this case. And that's basically how you automatically tag trade setups in sierrachart. Now the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and show how to go back and look at historical order fills on the chart and tag them or re-tag them, basically how to go back to certain order fills and change the note field for those order fills. And the way that I do this is I start by putting the symbol on the chart and making sure that there's enough days loaded so I can go back and look at each order fill. And then I look at each one of the trades and I can cycle between them with a hotkey to make the process relatively quicker. So I'll show you how I do that now. So in this case, the symbol for this chart is set to ZFH23, which is the 5-year Treasury Note Futures, March 2023 expiry. I'll go into my trade activity log and I will filter out only the trades that have occurred on this symbol so that way I can see them better. So I'll select ZFH23 _ FUT _ CME. That's a symbol for the Teton order routing service, but just know that your symbols are going to differ depending on what your trading service is. So I'll apply that. And remember, I'm in the trade activity menu here in the trade activity log, and I'm filtering out by fills only. The next thing is I've also arranged these columns, like the symbol, date, time, note, to be in an order that is relevant for the data that I want to look for. So sometimes you might need to move the columns over. So just select it by clicking on it and holding the mouse button and drag it over the next column like that, and you'll be able to move the column. So what I've done is I've gone and taken the note column, which is normally all the way on the right side, and I've dragged it over to the left because this is one of the most relevant data points that I'm looking for right now. Okay, so what I want to see is the date time of the trade, so that way I can reference that, and also the note field to make sure it's tagged correctly, and also whether the order fill was an opening order or a closing position order. Okay, so those are what's most important for me in this case. So the next thing we have to do is find our order fills on our chart so we can study them one by one. And I'm going to show you how to use the go to date time feature, which is useful if you need to go back to a very specific point in time. So you select chart, go to date time, or use the keyboard shortcut that you assigned. And then you can go to a specific date time. So what I want to do is go to the date time associated with the very first trade entry on this symbol, for example. So I'll go to 2022-11-29. So I'll select that date. And then I'll just go to the time of the first trade entry. So I'll just type in here 8:30. You don't have to type anything other than that. The rest will be filled in automatically. And then it's going to move the chart to the price of where the market was trading. And also you need to make sure that your days to load on the chart, so chart settings, data limiting, days to load, you need to make sure that you have enough days loaded on the chart so you can go ahead and actually go to the date time that you want to go to. So in this case, I set this to a high number when I'm going back and reviewing historical trade entries. But when I'm actually trading, this is set to 1 day for most efficiency. Okay, so I'll close that for now. And I'll use the right and left arrow keys for now to just go to a few bars in the future or in the past. And you can see here that there's a trade entry and exit that has occurred. And this entry and exit is this right here, starting at 8:32 a.m. and the exit was at 8:33 a.m. And you can see that the first one was an opening trade, the second one was a closing trade. So to edit the note column for this, you need to select the entry, make sure it's highlighted like this, and then go to edit trade activity entry. And then in this menu, you're going to see all the data associated with that order fill in this case. And you want to find the note field, which is down near the bottom right. And this is where you type in your trade tag if you're going in and tagging them manually. You're going to have to do this for the entry and for the exit of the trade because that's just how it is. In this case, you have to tag the opening trade and the closing trades with the same text tag if you want them to be grouped together. So what you do simply is you type it in the note field, and then what you can do is highlight it and use the Windows copy command like Control-C, press OK to exit that, and it will change it to the new note field. And then select the closing position order, and you have to do the same process, edit trade activity entry, and then go ahead and highlight the note field, whatever is written in there, and then do Control-V to paste in the note field that you copied from the entry. And that's a way of quickly doing it when you have to do them one by one. Okay, here's an example of quickly tagging trade setups using the method I just showed you. So I already know what they're going to be set to, so I'm going to select it, edit trade activity. I already have it copied to the clipboard. Okay, then I click on the next one right away, copy it there, and repeat the process. So that's how you quickly do them. It's sort of a mechanical process that you have to get used to. So I just tagged 3 of them in a row there. There's always going to be a couple of seconds delay when you're going in and changing a trade activity entry. It might take a second or two to change them. All right, so now we'll show how to continue going on the chart and look through your different trade setups. So there's actually a useful command to cycle between your trade entries on a chart. And you may need to assign this to a hotkey, but select trade and then find these commands. Go to next chart fill or go to previous chart fill. And this is what you are going to use to cycle between your trade entries on the chart in a much faster way. So I've assigned a keyboard shortcut to those. And if you don't know how to do that, it's done in global settings, customize keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so now I'll show you how I can cycle between them with my keyboard shortcuts. So just by pressing the keyboard shortcut, I can go directly to the next trade entry or exit. And this is going to be helpful when you have to go from trade to trade and analyze them one by one. So I'm pressing the shortcut to go to the next trade activity entry in this case. And now I'm pressing the one to go to the previous trade entry. Okay, so here's a quick bonus. This is an example of using the advanced custom study language to go in and access historical order fill data and plot certain data points from a historical view on a chart. This is a symbol that is either expired or close to being expired, but it's a futures contract where we had a number of trades on it from a historical standpoint. So what I'm doing here is I'm using an advanced custom study to access that historical order fill data, and I'm plotting the trade profit and loss and a number of other data points here into this bottom box right here. This is entirely custom, but it's just an example of certain things that you can do. So, for example, the green line up and the red line down, that indicates the trade closed profit or loss. So if it's a green line up, it means the trade was a profitable trade by the number that it's up. So I have it set to be ticks. So in this case, if I look on the right side, a value scale, you can see that that's a 12, meaning that this trade had a profit of 12 ticks for this symbol. The next data points that I'm accessing is the max open profit and the max open loss. And that's being shown with the turquoise colored box for the max open profit and the red colored box for the max open loss. If you see, for example, like look at this one right here, where the max open profit was higher, but the trade profit was a little bit lower, what that means is that the trade was in our favor a maximum of 10 ticks, but we ended with a closed profit of 7 ticks on the trade in this case. The other trade statistic that I'm plotting here, which is a custom calculation, this is basically showing the number of ticks that have been given back on a trade. So if a trade was in the money, let's say 4 or 5 ticks, this purple line here will show the value of ticks that have been given back on a particular trade. So I'll zoom in the chart to look at specific trade entries because now I have it set as a 4-hour chart. So I'll type in 15M to zoom in. And we'll look at some trades one by one. If we look at these few trades here, what we can see is that the purple line is relatively flat, meaning that on most of these trades, we're pretty much locking in the profit as it's going in the money. And that's generally a good sign for my particular way of trading. And I'm looking for anomalies where I might see certain patterns where there are multiple trades in a row where there's the giving back of open profit. So if you look over here, there's a few trades where that number was 3. So there was about 3 or 4 ticks of open profit and the trade resulted in a loss on a few of these occurrences here. So that's something to look at. So that gives me an idea of something I may need to work on in my trading. So this is the custom study that is plotting those subgraphs, and I'll just show you how I'm accessing those data points and then putting them into these subgraphs. So I'm using an existing example that is on sierrachart's documentation, and we are basically using this function right here, which is get flat to flat trade list entry, as well as get flat to flat trade list size. And we're storing those into a vector, and then we're accessing the vector with this for loop here, and then we are plotting those onto subgraphs on the chart. Okay, so in version 2458 pre-release version, it's now supported to access the note field for the order fill data. And this is in the s_acs trade structure. And you can see that in the scstructures.h folder. Okay, so the trade tag or the note field has been added. And that means that we can now use this to potentially filter out our order fill data by specific note text strings. I'm printing out the trade date time as well as the trade tags, so I'll show you what that looks like on the message log. Right here for the symbol that's on my chart, ZFH23. The last trade has taken place here on December 6th. The earliest trade is on November 29th, because this is a relatively new symbol. We just rolled over. And you can see that the trade tags are all there for each one. So that's very good. Thank you for watching.